Hey guys, I've decided I want to speak on a subject. And the reason why I want to speak on this subject is because right now I'm at a place where I don't really have a lot of friends. I have a lot of family, so I don't give a shit. But I don't have a lot of friends. And the reason why is because when you're a child, you behave like a child. And as you age, you learn that there comes a time and a place to set aside childish things. I have lost friends because of lack of respect towards me and towards my spouse, my wife. I have had friends lost because they don't understand that to life there are rules, and there are rules to life, whether you like it or not. And for me, if you don't follow those rules, I don't want you around me, my wife, or my children. And some of the rules are stupid and simple, and we'll get to those. I have lost friends because I do my best to be an honorable man, to follow an honorable path, which has to do with the rules, and I do not want to be surrounded by people who supplant that ideal. For instance, I don't smoke pot. I don't agree with smoking pot. That is something that children do. And as we get older, we have to set those things aside. I have never been a person who has ever believed in the idea of smoking pot. It does not make sense to me. It does not look like fun to me. You know, it's just something I don't agree with. Whenever I was a child, you know, I say child, but what I mean is an adult who is not yet mature of mind. You're an adult for the first time, so you're free to do certain things. You're free to muck about with sex. You're free to drink. You're free to do all sorts of things. And whenever I was young, I believed in drinking. Oh, brother, you have no idea the number of trees I have pissed on, because when I left the bar, I didn't need to pee. But by the time I was halfway home walking from the bar, I needed to pee. And, you know, and as I've gotten older, I've become sterner. I am not out constantly to make my friends laugh. I'm not out constantly to make an ass out of myself. There's a camera here I like to wave to all the time so they know it's me. Hello. And, you know, I had gotten older and wiser and more mature, and my friend at the time could not wrap his head around this concept that as we get older, we become more mature. You know, I am not the most mature person I know. I am not the least mature person I know. And he suggested to me that maybe I had somehow lost my groove and that I should consider smoking pot so that I could become happy again. And I had to explain to him that A, that's never going to happen, and B, I like being more mature. I like being more grown up. It allows me to see my endeavors from a more grown up perspective. I've spent 20 years of my life working on my own tabletop role-playing game, and the majority of that has been in the idea of actually creating something that other people might be interested in, might buy, and I might earn money off of it. And as I have grown up, that concept has matured into the idea of, well, maybe I should just write stories about this place that I spent 20 years creating, and for which I know every nth degree of depth on. And, you know, it happens. And I had to explain to my friend, I'm sorry, that's never going to happen. I enjoy being an adult. I enjoy coming at life from an adult perspective. I might occasionally be a goofball, but the simple fact of the matter is there has to come a point in time in one's life where one sets aside childish things. Okay? It's just the way it is. Or to allow those childish things to mature and develop. If you can't do one or the other, then you need to find another path to follow. The rules. It's simple. It really is simple. The honorable path has no complexity to it. It's not broken that way. The only complexity comes in social aspects, how we treat one another. First and foremost, as a man, and I cannot speak to women because I'm not a woman and I do not know the rules for women, I know the rules for men. Okay? As a man, when two men speak on a subject, because in this part I know of women, there's guy talk and there's girl talk. Both are mutually exclusive. Both are private and not to be shared with the opposite gender. It's simple. And we're gonna get to objectification here in a minute, because I know women don't like to be objectified, but I think that there is a small measure of confusion there for some women who have allowed themselves to become confused, and some men who have allowed themselves to become confused. Because there used to be a time when guys could talk about women and there was no objectification of it. There was no, man, I'd hit that shit. You have no fucking clue, dude. Oh, yeah, There used to be a time when we could be gentlemen. I find Barbara quite attractive. Do you not? Oh, yes, indeed. Cigars? Absolutely. There used to be a time when we could be mature about these things. And I know that's not the greatest of examples, but I'm sure you're capable of following. Guy talk is meant for guys' ears only. Girl talk is meant for girls' ears only. Trust me, every single time my wife gets on the phone with a certain friend and I want to say hi, my wife gives me this look. You know, and I'm not doing anything. I want to say hi. That's it. That's all there is. Hello. And I'm out. And my wife gives me this look. This is the look. Like, I will gouge your eyes out if you do not back up right now. That is the look. So, it's the way it is. And it's a rule. Guy and girl talk is private and meant for guys and girls. Period. Doesn't matter whether or not you're mature, that's the fucking rule. 2, on the men's side, a man must be honorable, not only horizontally, but vertically and individually. Now, what does that mean? It means that you have to follow the rules of your community, of your peers, okay? You have to follow the rules of your betters and your lessers, and there are a few in life. And you have to follow your own rules, all at the same time. And you can see a behavior that enforces that amidst men. If you're willing to take the step back far enough to see that. Horizontally, the community that you're in. Okay? Vertically, which means amidst those who may be of a lower rank than you, though I don't believe in such a thing, and those who are of a greater rank than you, though I don't believe in such a thing, like your boss is above you. Okay? Somebody who works for you is beneath you. That it's a globulous sort of a fucking thing that everybody has to be honorable, and you can see the behavior that enforces that. There may be different wording. Man, you gotta be cool, man. Cool, man. Whatever. Whatever the word is, it doesn't matter. It all means the same thing. And it follows these basic rules. A man needs to keep his word. Once his word is given, it must be kept. A man should not lie. Okay? A man's word should be dependable. It should be trustworthy. There should be a degree of integrity in there. Now, I'm not suggesting that you never lie, because there will come that moment immediately after you swear, I swear I will never lie. Your wife steps out of the closet with a dress on and looks at you and says, does this make my ass look big? Do I look fat in this? And you have to make a choice. And am I going to be honest? Absolutely. Or am I just going to be honest enough to get by in my marriage? It's a slippery slope, fellas. It is a slippery slope. Okay? Because if you're willing to tell a lie to your spouse about whether or not she looks fat in that dress, then you're willing to lie to her about the number of cigars that you smoke. You're willing to lie to her about the kinds of things that you and your buddies talk about. But remember this, there's a rule about that. Guy talk is private in the same way girl talk is. And this is the only way we're going to resume any form of equality amidst the genders. This is the whole reason why there's a war between the genders, is because of guy and girl talk. Because girl talk is private, and a girl will never tell you what she talks to her girlfriends about unless it has been previously agreed upon that it is okay to discuss this with the men. Okay? Guy talk is the same way, but women want to know what guys talk about, period. They want full disclosure no matter what. But you got to remember, there's that rule. Shall we continue? A man should not cheat. Now, I know all of you out there who would say, don't hate the player, hate the game. I'm not referencing sex. What I'm referencing is the following of rules. A man should not cheat. Now, your marriage or your relationship has rules. One of those rules is you must be faithful. If you must be faithful and you go off and you get laid with somebody else, you've cheated the rules. Hence the phrase, cheater. There are rules, and these rules must be adhered to. A man does not lie, he does not cheat, and he does not steal. In line with cheating, a man also does not hit on another man's wife or girlfriend. It's wrong. Okay? That is not to say, and mind you, this is per relationship. It's not my relationship. It's not how I want my relationship to be. But per relationship, if the man in the relationship and the woman in the relationship agree that they're interested in having that other fella in bed with the two of them, and they agree on that, that's between their marital vows or their relationship and the other dude. Okay? Ain't nobody else's business. It's just the way it is. Okay? That's not cheating. That's negotiation. That's different. Hold on here. A little tricky in this spot. Okay, let's continue. A man does not steal. Be it property, be it somebody else's spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend, be it somebody else's car or house, or it doesn't matter. A man does not steal. A man can buy, a man can negotiate, a man can be bequeathed an item or property of some form, but a man does not steal. Okay? Now, the next set of rules, there's some degree of debate to, because this is the 21st century. And these rules are part of what cause some friction between the genders, because this is the 21st century, and we do have a different way of looking at life in general, and a different way of looking at these rules in this day and time. So I'm going to say them as basically I learned them from my father by example growing up, and we'll go from there. A man protects. Okay? It is the man in the relationship's job to protect those in his relationship. Meaning, if there are multiple individuals in your relationship and you're the man in the relationship, it falls to you to protect the people in that relationship. If you are a father with children, it is your responsibility to protect those people. They are in the relationship. It's different, but you follow. It is a man's job to protect, period, bar none. Now, the way I have chosen to phrase this, I am not speaking specifically of the gender because I don't want to offend people. Because you could be the man in the relationship and not be a man. It's just the way it is. Now, some people aren't going to appreciate this, but in this way of looking at things, there falls certain degrees of responsibility. For instance, if between two men a grievance is formed, then what must happen is in some way an apology must occur. But, and this is my own personal rule, and I'm just putting it out there because I think people will have an appreciation of it, there needs to be a period of time in which all bereaved parties separate. What do I mean by this? What I mean is, if you kicked me in my balls, don't try to apologize in that immediate moment. Get the fuck away from me long enough to stop being pissed at you and wanting to cut your fucking head off before you try to apologize. It is always wiser to allow cooler heads to prevail. Okay? And, you know, your codes of honor may vary, but I am a firm believer in the written word. You don't try to present yourself after the wound has been caused to apologize. There is no way that's going to go over well. The exact response will be, you get the fuck out of my house and don't come back and don't talk to me. There are rules. So, for me, I believe in the written word. And I believe that that's what should start. You write a word, and so you write a letter, you buy the fucking stamp, you address it correctly, and you mail it. And the reason why is because it's a bit old-fashioned. It doesn't matter if you don't get a response. What matters is that you put the apology out there. Okay? What matters is that you show that you recognize your mess up on your end and that you are willing to negotiate terms for peace. Because between honorable men, and you will see this in sword fighting communities, you will see this amidst Klingons, you will, and what I mean by Klingons is Star Trek fans who behave as though they are Klingons and follow those laws and forms of honor and na. Okay? You will see this amidst SCA type folk and people who follow any form of an honorable code or Bushido or follow an older way of looking at the world. You will see this behavior. Don't apologize to my face. I'm not fucking interested. Because your words matter less than your actions. If you have dedicated the last, I'm going to go as far as to say 2 to 5 years to slowly get me to this point, and I'm a fairly charitable and forgiving person. I truly am. I have no problem in allowing the shit to slide. Okay? I have no issue with that at all whatsoever. What I take issue with is if you have dedicated your last 5 years to pissing me off, and you finally get me there, and you recognize what you're gonna lose, and you go out of your way to try to come into my home and apologize to my face, it means nothing to me. It means nothing to me because it requires no thought and it requires no effort at all whatsoever. It requires none of that shit. Now, for me, also, there are some things that aren't forgivable. Okay? If you come at my spouse in a physically, I'm going to hurt your spouse sort of way, if you try to take my spouse from me, you are less than a man. You are not worth my time. Go away. This is done for you. You are not a member of my family. You are not a member of my clan. Go away. I no longer wish to speak or hear or see from you again. You are dead to me. And the second I'm there, I don't forgive. I don't forget. I am not a Christian man. Okay, that's the first thing that you need to understand about me. And there are a lot of people who see it very different than I do. And that's fine. Because the whole thing about the rules is it's a lot about interpretation. And I haven't even covered them all. And I'm about to stop talking here. Okay? There are quite a bit more. Quite a few more, actually. There's etiquette, there's parlay, there's, how to behave in certain circumstances and places, and some of that stuff doesn't fucking matter. Okay, it's too old school to matter in this day and time, and it's understandable. The simple fact of the matter is that you have to recognize that in life there are rules. That these rules we created, and I've oversimplified quite a few of them. In this day and time, the rules don't matter. It's the 21st century. There's gender bending. There's chicks with dicks and guys with tits and all sorts of weirdness out there, okay? And really the only other rule that you got to think about is each to their own. Because in this day and time, not everybody's rules match up. Okay? And there's a lot of tradition that's just kind of been set to the wayside because it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, my nephew just got in trouble for bullying, and for me, the way I grew up and the way my dad talked about the way he grew up, the proper response to that is to bully him and show him how that feels. But what it does is it makes a worse bully. It doesn't resolve the situation. It makes a worse bully. Because if you take a bully and you abuse that bully, you make the bully have validation for his bullying. And whenever I was growing up, that's not how it worked. And when my dad was growing up, that's not how it worked. And we're just beginning to learn this stuff. Whenever I was growing up, you picked on somebody, you got your ass beat by your dad with a belt across your ass. When my dad was growing up, it was a switch. And this is where we get the rules from. Is from this form of corporal punishment that's passed down in generations. And in this generation, it's gone on the wayside. It doesn't matter anymore. It's the 21st century. You hit your kid with a belt, it's abuse. Which I think is stupid. My dad spanked me with a belt every time I fucked up until I was old enough to go, you know what, Dad, I fucked up, spank me. And he said, you're now mature enough not to need a spanking. I hit a girl with a football. I didn't mean to hit her, but I did hit her with a football. I fucked up. I walked my ass home and I said, Dad, you know what, I fucked up and I hurt somebody and I didn't mean to, but I fucked up and I deserve a spanking. And he spanked me, and whenever he was done, he hugged me and he said, you are now mature enough to recognize when you make a mistake, you no longer need spankings. I don't spank my kid, I just threaten it. And my kid's a spoiled fucking brat. Shows me, doesn't it? Anyways, guys, I love you. Have fun. Think about this. This is a debate video. Please put in your 2 cents. Don't be a dick about it. But please put in your 2 cents. Talk to you later.